We are now going to look at an application of our distance formula and our midpoint formula. This application is going to involve circles. In the next section, you'll learn how to graph circles and write the equation for a circle, and you'll need some information like the radius in the center of the circle. So here's an application asking us to find the center and the radius of a circle whose diameter has endpoints at -1, 1 and 7, -5. So if we think about that for a minute, if we have our coordinate plane, we have a point at -1, 1, and we have another one at 7, -5, which should be about here. And so this tells us that we should have a circle going through these 2 points. Something like that. Let's pretend it's nice and pretty. And the line segment connecting these 2 points should be the diameter of our circle. Remember, the diameter goes all the way across the circle. It goes through the center of our circle. And the diameter is twice the distance of the radius, which is what we're looking for. So we can first find the center of our circle. We know that our diameter should be directly on the center of our circle. It should go through the center of our circle. So we can find the center of our circle by finding the midpoint of this diameter of this line segment. And so we can use our midpoint formula. The midpoint formula allowed us to find the x-coordinate by averaging these x's. So -1 plus 7 divided by 2, and 1 plus -5 for the y's divided by 2, which gets us -1 plus 7 is 6 over 2. 1 plus -5 is -4 over 2. And so we have a midpoint of 3, -2. So that tells us that the center of our circle is at the point 3, -2. Now we also need to find the radius, the distance, the length of the radius. Well, notice that the radius would be from the center to any point on the circle. So the distance from this point to this point would be our radius. Or the distance from this point to this point would also be our radius. Or another option, we could find the distance of the diameter using these 2 endpoints, but remember then that you would have to divide that by 2 because the diameter is twice the radius. So I'm going to use this point and this point. I'm going to call this one my x1, y1, and I'm going to call this one my x2, y2. And I'm going to use these 2 points in my distance formula to find the distance from the center to this point on the circle, which should give me my radius. So the distance of the radius, the square root of x2 minus x1, so 3 minus -1 squared, plus y2 minus y1, so -2 minus 1 squared. And so simplifying, 3 minus -1 gives me 4 squared, plus -2 minus 1 gives me -3 squared. Continuing to simplify, I get 16 plus 9 underneath the radical, which gives me the square root of 25. The square root of 25, remember, is +5 and -5, but since we're dealing with a distance, we know it has to be positive, so we can exclude the negative, and we end up with a distance of 5 for my radius. So having endpoints of -1, 1 and 7, -5 for the diameter of a circle tells me that the center of my circle is going to be at 3, -2, and the radius of my circle is going to be 5 units.